In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to keep your chickens safe from coyotes and or wolves at the same time. This can be applied to any other thing, but we're just going to be going over 5 proven mechanisms that you can use to keep coyotes or wolves out of your chicken yard. So let's go. Firstly, we got keeping them in a pastured run. Now this is what people don't like about pastured runs, is the fact that they're cooped up in a small area, and a lot of people think that like they can't ever move their chickens. Well, that's BS. You can move them anytime you want. Here, take a look at this. We have a tire on our chicken coop. So what does that mean? We can move it. Using a tractor or even a SUV or truck, you can move a chicken coop if it's lightweight enough. And also make sure it doesn't tip over because there's chickens inside. That's the one thing I'll say. So yeah, you need to make sure you're keeping them in a yard, because if you don't, then there's a really good chance he'll be wandering around to a coyote den. Next up, we got just adding the mesh. Now the reason this is only the second tip, and the reason that I'm saving the best for last, not only because of viewer retention, but also because this tip kind of sucks. Because if you have a really weird shaped chicken run like this, and it's really hard, or sometimes even impossible, to set up the mesh around the chicken yard. So you need to make sure that the mesh is properly set up, or else guess what's not going to happen? Your chickens will be safe. So make sure that the mesh is properly set up, and it's also really hard, and people rage quit midway through it. So it's something that not a lot of people enjoy doing, because who would actually enjoy putting up mesh in their chicken yard? Like, it's kind of annoying, not gonna lie. Now I'll say, just about every single coyote attack happens at night. So you need to make sure that your chicken coop is as secure as possible. So what is one thing that you can add to your chicken coop? Well, now that I know viewer retention will be high, I can definitely say that you can add more than one thing. So here's what you need to add. Multiple layers. This wall is the siding, really strong. In between here is foam, and in the back is a wall. So there's 3 layers that something would have to pry through, and a coyote wouldn't be able to make it through the first. An automatic coop door, which senses the sunrise or sunset. Not yet I'm sponsored by an automatic coop door company, but I'd love to be. That'll be the perfect spot for one too. But yeah, I'd highly recommend an automatic coop door. So yeah. And also make sure your coop has some elevation. This coop is elevated for a reason, because you gotta make sure that you're doing something, you gotta make sure it's elevated off the ground, or else guess what's not gonna happen. Next up, we got making noise around your house. If your chicken coop is not close to the house, just grab a Bluetooth speaker. Make sure it's loud enough that it can definitely be heard from a little bit of a distance, but not loud enough that your neighbors will throw an entire 60-pack of bricks through your window. So you want to do that, and then you want to make sure you have a playlist with extremely loud sounds or even songs. Now you want to flip on mobile data if you haven't already, and you want to go out there and absolutely blast the hell out of that song. You want to make sure that it's loud enough that it can be heard in the woods or wherever the coyote den is. So it'll make sure you leave it on for at least 2 or 3 hours. That way it'll seem like there's no reason to stay, because there's just loud sounds and people are going to injure the coyotes or worse. And yeah, that's one of the greatest things you could do, is just blast some music out there. And if you do it consistently enough, and if you do it at a regular schedule, they'll realize that people will be up there at that certain time. It will reschedule their things for another time, which you can easily discover again by using things like trail cameras. And finally, we got a trapping system. Typically, I'd say this only works for smaller animals. We'll do smaller animals in a separate video. A trapping system is something that works 100% of the time if they walk through the trap. The trap will trap them, and most of the time people eradicate coyotes, but if it's a smaller animal, they'll typically let them go. Because, it's easier to get rid of a smaller animal than a larger animal. Pretty obviously, right? And also, these traps should be set up consistently, and make sure they're out of reach of chickens, because the trap is probably already bigger than the chicken itself. So, not saying anything, but yeah, rest in peace chicken if it walks into that trap. So make sure the traps that you set up are in a consistent area outside of the areas where the chickens will be in, or else, yeah, you'll have to do a salute to your chicken after that. So if you enjoyed or derived any form of anything out of this video, like and subscribe. I'll be making more of these videos in the coming weeks, so I hope you're there to enjoy.